welcome to Final.Final with Geoff Tice. It's a brand new podcast about creativity, art, design, comedy, and just people being positive and having a good time. I have an incredible guest here today, an incredible friend. You've seen him on Comedy Central. You've seen him Late Late Show with James Corden. He's the co-host of the All Fantasy Everything podcast. He has a special out now called Girl Dad on his Patreon. It's $10. Just buy it. Just go do it. He has another podcast down the line coming out, and you've definitely seen him fakey tail sliding across Portland. You've seen him sprinting right next to me across Wash Park in Denver during the race wars of 2024. Welcome to the show, Sean Jordan. Thanks for being here, dude. You're the greatest person
Brother,
I've ever known.
thank you. Come on, that's an intro. You wouldn't believe how many people. I don't know why the Late Late Show is such a hard one to get, but when people they'll be like, "You've seen him on," and then they start forgetting, and then they just say, "You've seen him on whatever that is," and I'm like, well, "Why didn't you just say nothing?"
You're like, it's crazy because it's such a iconic show.
Well,
Like that, it's not.
they all, and none of it really matters when you're getting up to do stand up. It's not like anyone's at the bar being like, wait a minute, did they just say the Late Late Show or whatever? They're there or they're not, and you got to be funny or
Yep.
none of that really
Yeah, the
matters.
job still has to be done. I always realize when people ask me that, I don't have credits that anyone like eyebrow raise at. And so I'm just like, it's a guy that you don't know from the place we're in or whatever. That's all.
Absolutely.
Just keep
Who's
it light
who's
and
gonna get
easy.
up and be funny because he's fantastic. Also, do you know what a fakey tail slide is?
Yeah.
You
Didn't
do.
you just post one? I think that's what,
Those are half cap nose
like,
slides. So
half
it's
cab nose lights.
it's funny because I was breaking down this for Laura. We're gonna talk about skateboarding, right?
Oh, it's the whole time,
So
probably.
can I break down half cab nose slide? Can I tell you why that trick is named? What it is?
I want to hear that more than anything in the world. Truly, this is like what I want this to be. It's so exciting. I love this stuff.
So her family does a Christmas letter every year, and they put in stuff that the family has done. It's very cute. It's very fun. It's just for us. But so her mom asked me what my favorite skateboard trick is, and a couple other questions. One of my favorite tricks is called a half cab crooked grind. So it's just a little farther up than a half cab nose slide. You just tweak it a little more, and you get your truck up there. So it's
Yeah.
called a half cab because there's a skateboarder named Steve Caballero. You ever heard of Steve Caballero?
Oh yeah.
He was in the Bones
Yeah.
Brigade.
Yeah.
So he made up a trick. It's a fakie 360, and it's called a caballerial because tricks on vert ramps used to be called aerials. His name is Caballero. You combine them, you get caballerial. So if you do a half of a cab, it's a fakie 180. So that's where that comes from, the half cab, and then that's into a nose slide. So it's a half cab nose slide.
See, this is why I wanted to talk to you about skateboarding alone, just because one, not only just like the creativity of the trick, like the ability to do that while moving on a skateboard, but also just coming up with that name. Like the naming of skate tricks is also super fun
Isn't it cool? I've
and
always,
silly.
and we argue about it all the time because there's certain tricks that most of them are pretty solid, but like some of the newer tricks, like there's a trick called a hurricane, and there's like a loose debate if what constitutes a front side or a backside hurricane because there's
Yeah.
a little nuance to it. But it's very fun. It also sounds like you're speaking another language.
100%. Anytime I watch like Street League or the X Games or even the Olympics, it is so funny. You turn it on and you're like, dude, what is this? What are they even
And on the
saying right
Olympics,
now?
they're not even good at saying the tricks. That the 20 was it 21? We had to delay a year, right? So 2021, they said so many wrong tricks. They just got some announcers who didn't really know what they were doing. They were
That's
like
crazy.
broadcasters, but I think they just probably had a list of tricks or someone in their earpiece being like, "Oh, that's a varial," and you're like,
Yeah.
nobody calls it a varial unless you're on a vert ramp.
There's not a lot of things that you need the person who does the thing to commentate. Like basketball, football, you like football, they don't even like so funny. So much commentary these days is just like, who wants it more? The vibes are, if there's no real technical aspect. Watching skateboarding, it's like, no, the thing they're doing has every single thing has a name and you need to know it. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense to people who know what they're looking at.
You know what's
But
fun is when they have somebody who knows exactly what they're talking about and somebody who knows nothing. Like on basketball or football, like if they get a celebrity in there who really doesn't know
yeah,
what's going on, that's
yeah,
fun because then I feel identify with that because like I don't I couldn't call a basketball game, but I could talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, you got but it's fun to watch. My favorite, I watch a lot of Formula 1, and that is like the actual sport of like the event, the race is more often than not pretty boring. And so you listen to these commentators have to talk about minutia of engineering and the design of the car and the strategy of the race when like 20 cars are all like 3 seconds apart, no one's overtaking a lot of times, and you're just like, damn, they are just filling air.
Dude,
And
my
it's
stepdad, or
impressive.
I'm sorry, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law calls it auto porn. So the way that I watch skate videos, I'll just throw on skate videos all the time, to the point where my wife is like, can it not be skateboarding on the TV? Because even if she's like just working, she'll be like, I
Yeah.
just don't like the sounds. But to me, it's like
Yeah.
the pitter patter of baby feet. It's the best sound in the world.
That's so funny.
But
Yeah, it's like a coffee
watch
shop. Yeah.
he'll just watch these dudes. I don't even know the YouTube channels, but it's just guys who find old cars and try to get them to work. And that's the
Yeah.
whole. It's so goddamn boring, but he's glued to it.
I love that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's fun. I sit and watch him watch it, honestly, and then I get
Yeah.
to ask him tiny little questions about cars because I don't know a goddamn thing about cars. And then I
Yeah.
just see him light up like he just did a bunch of Molly. He's just like, wow. And then he gets to tell me all about the car. And then I absorb some of the knowledge, and then I take it with me. You know?
I love it's like what you're watching like auto Twitch, like kids playing video games.
Yes.
Like I watch Twitch all the time and my wife is like, I don't get it. I'm like, it's just unscripted drama. Like it's just a reality show. Like I don't know what's gonna happen next. Something might happen next. And the person who's doing it is an interesting, entertaining person. That's all I can really tell you is why I like watching
When
it.
we were, 18, 16, 17, 18, through I'm all the way through my till I was like 30, it was always like hangout houses. So like my older buddies,
Yeah.
they had the house. They were like 20, 21. When I was 15, 16, we'd go to their house because we all skated. So the range of people you hang out with when you skate is also crazy. Because when I was like
Yeah.
14, I'm hanging out with 30-year-olds, and nothing weird about it. We'd just all be sitting at my buddy's house because we all skated. But if you don't skate and you're hanging out with 30-year-olds, it's fucking crazy. But to the Twitch point, we would always have one TV that was like skate videos and one TV that was people playing video games, and we would just watch people. 25 years ago, I'm watching people just play Dr. Mario and having a
Yeah.
blast. That was Twitch,
It's
way
great.
before Twitch.
That's so sweet.
It's
I
fun.
I just went back. I was because I wanted to talk to you about skateboarding. I went back and I used to skate like probably for a 4 year stretch in middle school and into high school, and I was terrible. Just mostly like mini ramps and bowls. That was built for my. I'm 6'4". I know you're tall, but you're
It's
actually
so
good.
much harder to skate when you're tall, dude, especially 6'4"
It's
and you're big.
that's the and that's what's like Tony Hawk is that size, and but I mean he's just so I don't know. He's a freak, obviously,
He's
but
lanky and he's
I
also the best. There's the best he was ever
the,
at vert skating. He's the best. So that's a freak
yeah.
of nature. Most people are right around like 5'9". I want to say most
Yeah.
pro skaters.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always felt like a little, and I'm pretty coordinated for being 6'4", but man, it just never really translated, especially into street skating. It was just so, I just didn't have like the rhythm and like the harshness that you need to succeed at that. I wanted like if I'm gonna fall on a ramp, I want to like slide down it. I didn't want to have to like
Yeah.
smash my head and knees on metal railing if I'm blowing it every time.
There's just something about it. It's two things. Just to address being tall, I always wanted to be shorter, which is so funny now as an adult because
Yeah,
you realize almost everyone wants to be a little taller than they are. I do not.
totally.
I love. I honestly, I still would prefer to be like 2 inches shorter. But you tell that to someone who's shorter than you, and it's like complaining to a bald person about your hair being dirty. They're just like, save it, dude. Read the room. Because because I was like, tall skateboarders look stupid. Da da da. But I mean, I immediately, and I'm sorry if if we just go right into it, but the first time I even stood on a skateboard because not as a kid, I had one when I was like 6 or whatever, but when I first, as like a 14-year-old, stood on a board, I was like, I know immediately, immediately, I knew this was just something I was going to do
Yeah,
as long as I could. I mean, like that, more than comedy, more than yeah, like more than like sex or anything. It was just this
yeah.
thing where it's like there's something about it.
What was it? Do you know? Like, did you ever have you ever figured out what that feeling was, or just like a full connection?
I don't
Like
know. I think it's
this
just a
is it.
full one of those inexplicable things. I know what it is now. There's a whole bunch of stuff. It's like a lifestyle. It's the way that I dress, but
Yeah,
that chicken or the egg kind of thing. But
yeah,
I think because I think probably a portion of it. So like when I was 14, like any 14-year-old, I was still very much searching for an identity, which I think I always will be. I'll never fully be comfortable. But
yeah.
then like I thought I was in a gang. I got I got beat into a gang. A bunch of my friends, beat me into the fake Crips in Sioux Falls, and so for a couple
Really?
years there, it was like this is even as a kid, I was like, this is weird. I know this is weird. I know this isn't
Yeah.
how I want to be. And then a couple of my friends got their asses kicked really bad by older kids because they're like, you're not in a gang, and so they really got beat up really bad.
Real gang members, or just older kids who think they're also gang
Well,
members?
see, this is the debate. I talked to David Bory about this a lot, where it's like, it doesn't matter if like Tookie came and sanctioned you as a Crip. If you're doing violent stuff, doesn't matter if you're, you know what I mean. If anybody
Yeah.
says it's real or not, it's a broken nose is real. It doesn't matter who does it. So
The behavior is being, yeah,
yeah, it's just a
it's
bunch
still
of
happening.
bored Midwestern kids who like we're gonna say we're Crips, and we were still doing mischief. We were not doing actual gang stuff, but we were doing mischievous kid stuff. So
Yeah.
the gang part didn't necessarily matter, and so the older kids who beat them up, they were probably as much as we were in this quote unquote gang, but they were gnarly, and they still are. I still know who they are, and they're still gnarly, and I'm still scared of them to this
They're
day.
still about the
I
lifestyle.
will be
Okay, well
scared of
then,
them
yeah.
until because I'm 43, so they're probably 47. They're not old enough for me to not be scared of them yet. So they're
That's so
still
funny.
kids. When I go back home, I'm like, oh, I can't be around them. They still,
Yeah, like I don't like this energy. That's
yeah.
so funny.
So there's
Yeah.
there's something to that where like because my friends got beat up and I stopped almost that day. I was like, all right, I'm not gonna hang out with you guys anymore. And then my friend got a skateboard. My best friend at the time, he got a skateboard. I stood on it once, and all of it just clicked. I
Yeah.
felt like something. I felt motivated. I felt a part of something. Right away, you're like, oh, I got to get a board, and then you're just immersed into that culture. And
What was the first board you got? Do you remember?
buddy,
Do you
do
remember
I?
the
Yeah. So
I
I got a Willie
was hoping you
Santos.
just pulled it off camera.
I would love to if I could. So someone sent me on eBay, someone's selling this board, but it's used, but it's like 2 or 3 grand, and I'm like, I just can't.
Whoa.
With a daughter, if I was single, I would have bought it. I would have, and I even showed Laura. I did that real trepidatious, like I showed her the link, and I was like, look at how crazy is this, huh? Just to see,
That's crazy.
just to
Yeah,
see
it's
if
in the
she was
cart,
like,
but
if you want it, go get it. So, but yeah, she's like, yeah, that's insane. What kind of idiot would do that? And I'm like, yeah, totally.
yeah, that's nuts, dude. Yeah, those guys are. Oh,
I
you just
can't
got
believe
deleting
anybody.
it out of
Yeah, I'm gonna
moving
go.
it out of your cart. Yeah,
I'm gonna
you're
go
like,
do.
whoops.
I'm gonna go do some taxes. I don't know what they were thinking.
What's our daughter doing? Yeah, yeah. What's our kid up to? Yeah, yeah.
So it was Willie Santos, Birdhouse, Cannonball Run, Slick. So a slick is where they used to have they're kind of back, but they would just put something on the bottom of the board to make it slick. I don't know
Yeah,
what it was. Allegedly, it would slide better. I think it was just like a marketing tool for skating in the mid '90s. And
yeah,
so it was the Willie Santos Cannonball Run Slick, kind of egg shaped, and probably 8.5, 8.25, something like that. And then
yeah.
I had Venture Featherlight trucks with black axles, and then I
Oh,
had
sick.
Lemon Drop 45 millimeter wheels. And I don't know if Lemon Drop was a short lived wheel company or if that was the name of that particular wheel on a different wheel company. I don't remember
Yeah,
that. And then
yeah.
like ABEC 4 bearings and then Shorty's Hardware.
Damn, these are all things I haven't heard since I was 16. Yeah, that rules. Is it the one with the maximum speed 55
Yeah.
and like the car coming at you?
So
This
it's the
looks,
it's the Cannonball Run graphic for the movie Cannonball Run. And
yeah,
it was between that and there's another skateboarder called Keenan Milton. He passed away years and years ago. But Chocolate Skateboards, who he rode for, they had this
yeah,
iconic like series of the chocolate. I think it was all basketball graphics, all basketball court graphics. It was
yeah.
between that Willie Santos and this Keenan Milton board, and my buddy, who sucks now. I don't like him anymore. He was a bully, and it took me years to realize it, but he was such a bummer. He talked me
Yeah.
into the Willie Santos, so that's why I got it. Because, but I wanted the Keenan Milton, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
should have done it. I still, I don't. That's never going to change. I still, whenever I want something, I always ask people. Like, if I want a new
Instead of
jacket or something, I'll hit up David or Ian. I'll be like, "What do you guys think of
yeah,
this?" Instead of just doing it. I don't know why.
just doing the thing.
You
Yeah,
know?
it's hard. It's so hard, especially at that age. And yeah, when you have a friend who's like, they do know what they want, or they're just being a bully, makes it hard.
Yeah, and
I feel
he
like
probably wanted himself, and also I got better than him in like a week at skating. So
yeah, you're really good at skating. I want people to know. Like, I know you're not going to say that, but like, you are exceptional. Like,
I
there are
will
people like you.
say
There is.
thank you, by the
Yeah,
way. I will say that
of course.
I used to be very, very good at it. I can get
Yeah,
by. I can still do some stuff, but I was
yeah,
for a while. I was very, very good at it, which is
yeah.
fun to
I
look
went down
back.
a.
You can say it now. Like as soon as you're
Oh
bad
yeah,
at something again, you be like, I used to
that
fucking rip. But
dude, that's I just turned that corner in basketball because I've been playing on the weekend and like I'm just old. Like I just my back hurts, I'm slow. There's like some young kids that play that just run circles around me and I like find myself doing old guy basketball things and I'm like, "Man, I used to hate this guy when I was young and then now I'm that guy."
what's an old guy
And
basketball thing? You know what do you don't like wear rec specs and knee pads? Do you?
dude, no, but it's just like the way I play. Like it's a lot of like post up, turnaround, fade, jump shots that I never would have done. I just would have been like, oh, I'm gonna push through this guy or be bigger and physical and more athletic, and that's gone. So I'm like, what if I just did a little baby hook over this kid?
Yeah.
Like that.
Do you get? I just listened to a podcast last night, and somebody was saying how in a pickup game, it's the most uncouth thing there is to call an offensive foul. Is that true?
Oh, dude, that's insane. Yeah, that's crazy.
I never
That's
played pickup ball,
crazy.
but even hearing it, I'm like, yeah, that's like total
Yeah.
snitch,
No,
coward shit.
that is like snitch behavior. You would just be like, "What are we doing here? Are you a cop? Like, where's your like? You gotta go." Yeah, there's a few like unwritten rules in the weird ones for me. It's like posting up, which isn't it's not like a super bad thing to do. It's a part of the game, and obviously, if you do, it's bad. But like the guy who only posts up in pickup games, like down low, he's like the big guy that just is like elbowing and doesn't actually do that. Drives me nuts.
Hmm.
But the other one is yeah, like offensive fouls just don't really exist. And then there's always the guy who like never touched the ball. Like it goes out of bounds, and he's like, "Oh, it was off you," and it's just he's like, "Okay, man." Like every time, it's always someone else. And then the one I always joke about is 3 seconds. Like 3 seconds is not
I
even
can't even
if you
imagine calling that.
that's crazy. Like people call that in real basketball, and everyone's like, "Nah, that don't do
It
that. That's
blows
not real."
my limited knowledge. It's still even when they call, I'm like, what are we doing? Let them play
It's
the game.
crazy.
They're professional.
Yeah,
They're the best in the world. Uh, it seemed like when I had my like brief dalliance with playing basketball, and it always seemed like pickup ball was more fun because it was chippy. That's the whole
yeah,
like in an actual game in school, you couldn't get chippy,
yeah.
and it's like, well, this sucks.
No, that's. I mean, I don't. I'm a pretty like gentle, optimistic person in life. But the only time that I generally have a problem with someone is from playing pickup basketball. If I'm like, that's the only time I'll get really upset, cause a problem, get in a fight, get anytime any physical altercation has ever happened in my life, it's because of pickup basketball. And so, minus
Well,
that one
yeah,
time,
you strike me as somebody who could get people always want to mess with a big guy. Although on a basketball court, everyone's big.
everyone's big, yeah, for the most part. But that's the other part is like you can kind of gauge. You also get a really good gauge of people's ability on a basketball court. You're like, oh well, I've been crushing you for the last, you know, game. I'm not too afraid. Or vice versa. You're like, I'm probably not going to say anything to this 6'9" guy who is pretty upset all the time about everything.
Hmm.
So you dial it back. It's just humbling. Like that's what I like about it. It's humbling. Same with like skateboarding. That's what I loved about it. It was so humbling, so rewarding at the same time because you're just failing so much. It's just so much failure and that's, I mean, that's stand up, that's everything. It's just,
Hmm.
you just getting your ass kicked over and over and until you succeed. And then you're like, great, I did it. Perfect.
That is, that's almost all of it now. Like now when I go skate, it's there's three things. Like I love it. I just can't not do it. There's a part of me that if
Yeah.
I don't go skate, if it's
Yeah.
decent outside, I feel like a sellout. It's still that
Yeah.
holding on to that thing where it's like, go do it. Go do the thing that you love
Yeah.
doing, even if you don't want to do it. Because now I just assume go watch Gladiator 2 again in the movie theater.
Yeah.
But also that sense of personal accomplishment. If I have
Yeah.
something in mind, it could be a new trick, it could be a number of tricks, whatever goal it is, a trick that I
Yeah.
haven't done for a while. As soon as you hit that goal, you did something. You're like, I did it, and that bleeds
You did
into
it.
every other facet of my life. It's like
Yeah.
if I go skate, I do some things or I accomplish something, then I'll go work. I'll go send a bunch of emails. I'll go write. I'll go record a podcast, and
Yeah.
then I'll be happier around Max. I'll be happier around my wife and
Yeah.
all these things. On the other end, if I don't do it, definitely irks me, and I have to really like if I go try a trick and I don't do it, or if I have a bad day, or yesterday I
Yeah.
fell so hard pushing. I was just pushing on the like going from A to B at the skate park, warming up, and I fell so hard, and I was just like, dude,
Oh.
it's such a bummer, and that will bleed into my day in a negative way if I
Yeah.
don't stop it, you know.
Yeah.
So that's a
Do
whole.
you do you like working on a trick more than landing the trick, or is it all about like I have to land this trick and I don't care what it takes to get there, and that's the moment, or like if you never land the trick, you're like I still had a good day skating.
Almost never that last part.
Yeah.
So, but then so you'll like if it's not going well, I'll just set smaller goals where I'll be like I got to do 10 kickflips or something that I know I can do.
Perfect.
And
Perfect.
honestly, if that doesn't happen, then I'm like, well, you did it, and then I'll go get like 10,000 steps or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like one of the coolest things with skating is there's this level of fear. Like if you're like it goes back to stand up or like a fight or something. If like that feeling you have right before you get in a fight, which if people ask what stand up is like, that's kind of what
Yeah.
I'm like. Have you ever been in a fight? And if they say yes, I say that feeling right before when you know it's going to happen for real.
Yeah.
That's what before you go on stage. That's kind of the first that feeling that you have where you're
It's
like,
perfect.
okay, no turning back, and I'm gonna do this thing. So with skating, there's like this level of fear where you have to just commit and try and try and try, and you have to if you don't fully try, you'll just fall and get hurt. So there's always that kind of in the back of my mind. And then it's if you do the trick, then you beat that. You're like, I did it. I won the fight.
Like I won.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
won
won
the
the fight.
fight with no other
Which
people.
that talking about getting in scuffles and then now this analogy, it just made me think of the last time I talked to you in person
Yeah, dude, you told me.
was I was explaining I almost got in a fight in front of the Skylark at High Plains,
I love it.
which man, what a
Justice.
rare instance, but it was close. It is the same feeling where you're just like the adrenaline's pumping and you're like, I guess and that guy ended that conversation, like lightly termed conversation. He's like, well, it sounds like you want me to put this cigarette out in your eye. And I was like, I think we're done here. I think we both need to walk away. But yeah, that was probably the closest. I haven't been in a fight in years. That's probably the closest I've been. Definitely the closest I've been in a long time. But yeah, that feeling. I came over to you. I was buzzing, and you wanted to hear every little detail.
Someone just told me. I was like, I mean, of course I want because and I talked to my wife about this. Like I was never a big, I've been in a handful, maybe 10 fights, and like two that were like real, but scuffles and like I've been around it. It's just there's something to it, not fighting, but just like the ruckus. I like ruckus. I like being
Yeah.
out at a bar 1 in the morning. I like it. I've always liked it. It just being in
Mhm.
like a bus full of dudes on a skate trip or 13 of us in a hotel room. There's something where I'm like, I like the buckness of that. So with
Yeah.
skating, you get that. You're like, I might fall. I don't want to fall, but I might. There's like a little bit of risk to
Yep.
it. There's something to be said about that, and it just scratches this itch that some people have to feel like they're. I don't know. I don't want to sound so grand, but that whole like I'm alive thing. Same
Totally.
thing
No,
with
I
doing
mean
like
that's
I just climbed Mount St. Helens. It sucked so bad, but you get to the top and you're like, I did it. I did something. You
yeah.
feel like you're using your body a little bit.
How long does that take? What's that?
It
What's that
took
hike like?
it was like 8 hours, I think,
Oh my god.
four up, four down.
Is it a hike or is it like mountaineering?
It's a
Like what's the
goddamn.
vibe?
It's like mountaineer. So many people around Portland because St. Helens is like the probably the limit of a hike you can do where they're like you don't need to train or anything. It is technically it's a hike, but a mile of
Yeah.
it you're bouldering. So it's
Oh,
you hike for like a mile and a half, and then there's a mile of bouldering, and then there's a mile of scree. You know what scree is?
no.
It's like
Is
ash.
that that sounds like some South Dakota
Sucks.
steak like chiseling.
Yeah, sure. It's like when you run over a deer. Uh, you scree is like this. It's like loose gravel, volcanic rock stuff. It's like climbing up a gravel like a dirt road, but
Yeah.
it's like
Just above tree line, like it's
yes,
just that loose.
and it
Totally. We have
sucks.
that here.
Where
Yeah.
it's like running in cement where you're like I'm not going anywhere. You take I had to at a certain point I had to be like, all right, take 10 steps and stop, and I just
And
had to
chill.
do that, and then I would take 10 steps and I'm like I swear to God I didn't move, and then
Yeah.
but that to the point like that sucks, and it's so stupid the whole time, and you're like, why am I doing this? I could work out in a way that doesn't suck, but then you get to the
Yeah.
top of this mountain and it's a volcano, it's an active volcano,
That's
and
so
you
cool.
feel great about yourself. So it's that
That's
skating is
great.
a big part of that where it's like I feel accomplished and I'm sore and I have weird muscles hurt, but in a really good way because you used your body. We got this body. We're able to be active, and I
Yeah.
don't ever want to take that for granted. I always want to do stuff,
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I feel like that every weekend now that I'm getting at trying to play more basketball and trying to find things that don't destroy my body because it's the one thing that does destroy my body. And I had been like working out more and not getting hurt, and then I started playing basketball more, and I was like, why am I getting hurt so much playing basketball? And then my wife was like, well, you have 9 guys that you can't control who are like actively working in your area and against you.
hmm
And then she's like, you just do yoga or something else, which it's that's been fine too. But
And it's
yeah, it's
also
so hard now.
wildly hard to do yoga and Pilates.
Dude, crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And also, I feel like such a psycho. Like I sit in the back in the corner, like basically like eyes down, like guys, I'm just chilling. I've got like 4 wedding rings on. I'm like, hey,
Sure.
we're just trying not to be a lunatic right now. And and then I immediately everyone's like obviously minding their own business. You get in there and then I'm just failing. Again, it's like fail. I can't do any of it. I don't have the balance. It's great. I love it so much, but it's so frustrating to not I get really frustrated when I'm not good at something immediately.
So do I.
And this has been such a huge like, okay, let's go back and try it again. Let's do it again.
Not good at something immediately doesn't bother me. I don't like feeling that I'm not getting better at something. That's
Yeah.
when it because
Yeah.
I've only really been good at three things for real. I was really good at taekwondo, really good at skateboarding, and
Yep.
I would fancy myself
Crippin.
pretty good at stand up. So the three
Yep.
things that I've tried to do, I've excelled at. So I don't take on a lot of new stuff, and I don't
Yeah.
like feeling stupid. That's another thing is I don't.
That's hard.
There's like read that's why I can't really get into reading because I just feel dumb because I read so slow and I'm like I don't want to feel stupid, so I'd rather like some caveman luddite where I'm like
So funny.
I'll just
The
go
good thing
mess
about
around.
reading is you can feel stupid to yourself. You can quietly just be stupid, Or I never I've only been reading in the last few years, but I drawing was always the thing for me that gave me that feeling. That was like this is what I feel like I'm good at. This is what I've gotten positive
You're
reinforcement in.
great at it. If I was good at it,
Thank
I'd
you.
feel amazing for doing it too. I
That's
can't
it. But
draw
the
a dog.
problem
Max asked me to draw a whale, and I'm like, that looks like a pig. The other day I drew a whale and it looked like a pig.
I
I don't even know
I
how
have
that
the hardest
happens.
time too because I'm supposed to be good at drawing. I think I'm good at drawing. And then my daughter will ask me to draw something and it'll be bad. And then I find myself justifying why it's bad to a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, it's because these markers, like it's just not. And she just is the happiest she could be about it that her dad is drawing with her. And I'm like critiquing it. I'm like, I gotta stop doing this for sure. This
Yeah.
sucks. But it's good. Yeah, that's the hardest part. That with drawing especially, that's where I find it's work. Like it's always been like it comes easy at a
Mhm.
certain point, but at any moment it could just be bad and you ruin the drawing and then you're mad. And then I like and that does like affect my day. Like if it doesn't end up looking good, I take that with me until I can like go back and fix it.
Yeah,
And
I don't really have that mellow gear, and that's another thing. To go back to skating, people or stand up too. the parallels are so similar, but I stand-up's boring to talk about skating, is it? But people always ask if it's hard. If like skating less so because it just looks. Most people know their balance threshold, and a lot of
Yeah.
people know they can't do that. With stand-up, I think a lot of people wonder if they can or can't because it's such a foreign situation for most people.
Yeah.
But they're all hard all the time. Like it never, none of it ever is easy. It gets easier from time to time. And I remind myself of that when I'm skating and I have a bad day, or if I'm out with, because I go in the mornings now and it's one other person normally, and it's usually some other old dude. And
That's nice.
yeah, and a lot of times I'm the oldest, which is kind of cool because then because I can still handle myself. So
Yeah.
like, well, I'll see someone try a trick or I'll try one. I'll be like, gotta remind myself this is really hard, and I'll say that out loud to the person. I'm like, this is hard. This
Yeah.
is hard what we do. Most
Yeah.
people can't do this. And then I can see them look at me and think, you're right. It is hard because we need to be
True.
reminded because sometimes
Yeah.
things start to feel easy. Stand up starts to feel easy, and then
Yep.
you just have a horrible show, and you're reminded
Hmm.
that it's not easy. You always have to think about it. Skating,
Yep.
basketball, art, manual labor, anything. I mean, I've broken my leg 7 times skateboarding.
Oh my
Four,
God.
four one, three the other. I ruptured my kidney. I tore my ACL. I've broken each wrist twice. I knocked this tooth out. This is a fake tooth.
That was all just from being a gang member,
Yeah, that
not
was
even
that. Yeah, that
skateboarding.
was
That's
all just
crazy.
because I ran into a skateboarder and he beat the shit out of me.
Tripping, dude. Damn, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
all that
I
stuff.
feel like that is, yeah. Anytime you talk to a real skateboarder, that's the story. They're like, I've been getting absolutely crushed my whole life.
But still scared to get in a fight. Like if somebody wanted to fight, that feeling would be so scary. Because
Yeah.
I've talked to my buddies about this too, where it's like hitting the ground or something hurts way more than like when I fell yesterday. When I fell yesterday, I wish I was filming it. I had to look so stupid, but I bent my wrist back, I landed right on my butt, and then I fell on my back, and I kind of hit my head. And
Oh my God.
that's more than most most fights I've been in. That's way more,
Yeah.
way more than happened in
Yeah.
the fight. I might have got like dusted on the cheek in most of these fights, and then my hair pulled in a headlock, and then some tears. I got
How do
tears.
you feel today? Like, how
I
bad is
it's
it?
like my butt hurts. There's because when you it's like a car accident. When you flex, those muscles are going to
Yeah.
hurt. So, or that's why they say a car accident's not as bad for your muscle because you're not flexing. Like when you
Yeah.
start to fall on your skateboard, you immediately flex, and then you
Full.
hurt
Yeah.
whatever muscles you land on. Those hurt, but nothing great. On my 42nd birthday, my 42nd or my 41st, I've been since COVID. I've been doing that number of tricks on my
Yeah.
birthday, however old I am. So
Oh, that's sweet.
one of them is getting harder. One of them, maybe my 42nd birthday, but I was at the skate park and I had done maybe 15 tricks, and then I thought I'm gonna go nose slide. Here you go. Here's some more skateboard etymology for you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go nose slide this hubba ledge. So a hubba ledge is there's handrails that go downstairs, but then sometimes there's ledges that go downstairs, big like just cement ledges that go down the stair. Those are all called
Yeah.
hubbas in the skateboard world
Oh.
because in San Francisco there used to be this famous spot called Hubba Hideout, and there was a old skateboard video series called On Video, and this professional skateboarder Carl Watson was
Yeah.
interviewed, and he said the reason they called it Hubba Hideout is because in San Francisco they used to call crack Hubba, and this place is
Oh.
where all the people like it was off the beaten path, so all of these crackheads, to for lack of a better term, would go smoke
Yeah.
crack at this place, so they called it Hubba Hideout, and there just happened to be a big cement ledge going down some stairs that everybody skated. So now I'm telling you, every skateboarder in the world calls them hubbas, and that's why. Isn't that cool?
That's
I
amazing.
mean,
I love
there's
that so
dudes in
much.
Japan. There's people in Japan and Sweden and
Yeah.
Finland and Africa, and everybody calls them a hubba. So anyway,
It's so much better than everyone in the world calling it crackhead
yes,
ledges.
there's a crackhead ledge.
It's got a nice ring to
So
it.
I was gonna
No, that's
go. I did like
beautiful.
15 tricks. I was gonna go no slide this hubba on my birthday because I can do it, but I hadn't done it in a while, and
Yeah.
it's definitely a younger person's trick because you're going downstairs, which I stay away from mostly. But anyway, I went to no slide it, and I didn't. I just barely missed, and I hit my hip on the. I can send you the clip. I hit my hip on the ledge,
Yeah.
and then my ribs, and then I fell down, and I hit my wrist, and I bent my knee, and I thought I tore
Oh.
my ACL again, is what I thought. So I stood up. If you've ever been hurt, my legs. If you've ever had a bad leg injury, I'll speak for myself. I always get up and run if I can. Sometimes
Yeah.
the foot was just crooked and you can't run, but if I can, I get up and run because you in your mind you're like, if I'm running, it can't be torn, which is not true. So anyway, so I got up. It's not. I ran with torn ACL, and it doesn't fix it. So I ran down, and then I ran back, and there was this kid smoking a blunt. He was probably 17, and I looked at him, and I'm all frantic, and I go, "I'm good, right? I'm all right. You don't think I got hurt, do you?" And he looks at me. He's like, "I don't even know." He just took a hit off his blunt, and that was where that I felt super old because I was like, "This kid is so
Damn.
cool,"
Yeah.
and I'm
Just too cool to care about you. He's like, I don't know, man.
I'm just
Just
running
decide.
around like I'm not going to be able to hold my daughter. What am I doing? I've just tore my knee. Yeah, it sucked.
Oh, brutal. So
But then
cool,
I
man.
still had
Well,
25 tricks to go do, so I had to go do them.
oh my, did you get through the
I
rest?
did. I took like an hour, and then I went to a different place, different park
That's
in
incredible.
Beaverton. And so it's like an hour and a half, and then I went.
Yeah.
I got them done.
God damn. You're a dedicated man.
I try.
Um, that's it, man. Thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate this. You're the greatest person I've ever known, and I say that genuinely.
Back at you, my
you're,
friend. And you say that with
you're
a
so
daughter,
good.
so yeah, take that.
Yeah, true, true. Yeah, you put so much positivity and good things into the world. So thanks for being you. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for spending the time, man. I really
Thanks
appreciate
for
you.
having me. It flew by. I'd do it
This was
again
great.
anytime.
Awesome, man. Thank you. And thanks, man. Do you have any shows coming up? Oh yeah, let's do little plugs. I can also plug these at the front, but
It doesn't matter.
anything coming up?
Nothing. You know,
Perfect.
if you could, Sean Cougar Mellon Jordan on Instagram. There, that'll do it.
Perfect. Follow him on Instagram. So, all right. Thanks, everyone. Be good to each other. Goodbye.